Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Skimmy Dipping, a podcast about books. I am Jack Svets,
I'm Samantha Schwimmer.
and we're here to talk to you about books. We came up with this
You
idea.
sound so angry. There's so much hostility. For those listening at home, we've been setting up for many hours.
Many hours. And there's hostility because this took forever to do. I mean, literally, we had how we're recording this podcast is via a website. It's not even GarageBand or any type of app. It's a website. And every time we have to do test audio, we have to send a whole nother link to our emails and then hook it up. And the other part about it is before this even happened, we were 2 hours in. 2 hours in to try and set this up. And Samantha goes, oh, let's just use my laptop as the main one. Because we were trying to figure out a plug situation for a converter that we didn't have.
Okay, we gotta relax.
Anyways, this is Skimmy Dipping. This is how this is going to go a lot.
Yeah.
So this is a podcast about books. We came up with this idea a while ago. And we went on tour with each other and thought,
Yeah.
we went to a bookstore and it was
And
a good
I
idea.
spent an undisclosed amount of money on books. An undisclosed amount of money. What do you think is like an okay amount of money to spend at a bookstore?
It's not going to be undisclosed anymore. I would say for the amount of books that you bought,
Yeah. Which
60?
was 4. I bought 4 books. 4 hardcover books.
Yeah, 70. No, $110 for 4.
Which I spent
hardcover
less than
books.
$110. So
Okay.
there we go.
It was Prescott, Arizona, though. So I guess
I got a little bit of a deal because it was Prescott.
because it was Prescott,
Anyway,
the only bookstore. There's only like 6 people there that know how to read. Okay.
Well, they have 2
I'm just kidding.
colleges.
I'm just kidding. You guys saw the ads and came out to the shows. There's at least 70 people there that know how to read. And we decided, what does the world need? Another straight white guy and a bi Jewish woman talking about books.
Okay, wait.
So here we are.
I'm also white. Just to be clear.
Yeah, but you're Jewish.
I like how you're like, we're diverse. She's Jewish.
Yeah, people know that you're white. If they're watching the video, they are very well aware that you're white.
Yeah, and they are. But you mentioned you were white.
Yeah,
This is a white.
I'm not Jewish. I feel like if you're like, I feel like
this is a DEI podcast
at its finest,
but for white people.
Exactly.
So perfect.
Okay, so pretty much the premise of this podcast is we talk about books. We're going to be doing this monthly, and we'll just recommend books back and forth to each other. There's no limitations on what the books can be, except they have to be longer than a novella, and they can't really be insanely long because we only have a certain amount of time to read them. We have to read them within the first 38 days of recording the video. So we'll be recommending back and forth, and yeah, we'll see if you guys like it.
Yeah, you can read along with us if you would like. But I will say the episodes will not require you to have read the book. In fact, it's just very not necessary. But
yeah, this honestly could also be recommended if you want to read the book or not.
Yeah,
we will either build it up or tear it apart depending on whether we like the book or not. We have a lot of segments that we're excited to get into, but first and foremost, this first book was recommended by Samantha, Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Would you like to explain why you recommended it?
No, because it's way later in the episode.
It's Rec of the Month.
No, Rec of the Month is like non-book.
Got it. That's right. That makes complete sense. All right. Okay. So the first segment is going to be 30-second recap.
The first segment's a Rec of the Month.
Yeah, which is Sally.
No. That was the non-book.
Oh my gosh.
This is your segment.
Right. That is my segment.
This is your segment.
Okay, so the book that we're doing this month is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. But, however, our next episode is going to be Earthlings.
That's also still not the segment.
What am I...
This is literally your segment where we can just rack a book or
oh my gosh, I'm such a moron.
Music.
What we're listening to, what we vibe with this month.
What happened to you this month.
Well, then what's your Rec of the Month, Samantha?
Okay, we're rewinding because this is gonna be hard for him to cut.
This is really, really bad.
Okay, it's not bad.
Should we just restart?
No. We don't need to restart. Just okay. So our first segment is called Rec of the Month, where we're going to be recommending something that we're listening to, watching, eating of the month. And this is just for anyone who doesn't like to read, which, let's be honest, is most Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Majority of you guys.
yeah, and we love you for that. But that's okay. This is a very condescending podcast. We're off to a very condescending start.
We don't like you. It's basically the tone of the podcast so
I think
far.
we love you and we need you dearly.
Also very
and
true.
we value you. But my rec of the month, I'll go first.
Go for it.
My rec of the month is to have a little bit of chocolate after dinner. That's my rec of the month. Life is bad. Categorically, things are not going well. But the one thing you can count on is I have a little chocolate bar, and you just have a couple pieces after each meal.
I love that your rec of the month was dessert.
Okay, my other rec of the month is a grilled cheese sandwich. I've been making grilled cheeses most days for lunch and cutting into triangles. My rec of the month is to eat like a child and connect with your inner child or whatever.
I love where you took this segment. Okay.
Fantastic. What's your recommendation?
No, that's a good recommendation. Honestly, let's break that down first.
Eat finger food.
Eat sweet finger foods after dinner and grilled cheese for dinner. I mean, that seems.
Sometimes I'll grill onions and then put it in the grill.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's a little zhuzhed.
My rec of the month is the band The National came out with a new album recently where it's a live album. The album is called Rome. They play a lot of their greatest hits in a concert, and it is fantastic. Honestly, one of my favorite live albums of all time. Highly recommend that you go check it out if you're a fan of alternative sad music, and I am, which is why it's being recommended. Okay. So yeah, to recap, we have recommended Rome, an album by The National, and dessert.
It's not dessert. It's having a couple pieces of chocolate after each meal.
Pieces of chocolate.
Just a little bit. It's okay. It's like a little hit.
That's fair. Okay.
Now, Jack's getting eager.
I am getting eager. I actually really want to talk about this book. But our second segment is going to be 30-second recap. Yes. Okay. Where
I'm getting the timer ready.
Okay. So 30-second recap, to break it down, is where each of us will recap the book in 30 seconds. Samantha will go first, and she will recap the first half of the book, and then immediately after 30 seconds, I will take over and try and recap the rest in 30 seconds. We have a minute total. We're not going to be able to do it very well.
Right.
We have not practiced this. We haven't even talked about this book with each other.
Yeah. Every time we bring the book up, we say, la, 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 save it for the podcast.
Yes.
Aggressively save it for the podcast.
So we will see how this is going to go. Okay.
And also, I finished this book way before Jack did.
So it's fresh on my mind.
It's going to be good. Okay. Ready? I'm starting. And 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. This book is about brothers. And they're sad because their dad just died. Their names are Ivan and Peter. Peter's older, he's a lawyer. Ivan's younger, he plays chess. Ivan has a secret girlfriend named Margaret. He starts canoodling with Margaret, going to visit her in her small town. He meets her at a chess thing, blah, blah, boring. Then Peter, the way better brother, by the way, he is in a throuple situation, except he's fucking nobody, kind of, and both Sylvia.
Yeah, so he's fucking nobody, but he's fucking both of them at the same time. It's honestly kind of a crazy ass book in that sense. Eventually, the brothers get together and they have a falling out, and the falling out lasts almost the entire book until the brother, who's fucking this one girl, who brings him back to his dad's house, and his dad's dead, as we've discussed. Dad's dead, brings her back, meets the younger brother, Ivan. They connect pretty well, no fucking going on there. Then Peter comes back, kind of beats the shit out of Ivan, and then eventually they go to a chess tournament that Ivan's at, and they make up. And so that's pretty much how the book ends.
And that's done.
All right.
We're done.
How do you think we did?
I think, honestly, we hit all the major points.
I think so, too.
The only part we left out was there's, like, a whole saga with my mom, but, like...
There's a saga with the mom, and there's a lot more to do about the weird throuple.
But we'll get into that.
We didn't even talk about honestly, my favorite person in the book.
Definitely get into that.
Yeah. Okay. So, Next segment is why the person picked the book. Samantha, why did you pick Intermezzo by Sally?
Okay, so I did buy. So we both love Sally Rooney, and I did buy. So Intermezzo came out while we were on tour in Arizona, and so my first opportunity to purchase said book was at this bookstore in Prescott. Is it Prescott or Prescott?
Prescott.
Okay, Prescott. I don't mean to slander the good people of Arizona. I actually really like Prescott. They had vegan food there, which was cool.
That was surprising for both of us.
I was thrilled about it. And anyway, I picked the book because it came out that day or that week, and I had wanted to read it as I have read all of her books. And then it took me an alarmingly long amount of well, I read a different book also about death. Death was in this year in new
It
releases.
seems to be a common theme.
Coco Millar's book, which is down on our shelf. And so I read all that book, and then I started reading this book. I read like a couple pages, and I was like, "Ew, she's writing about men this time." And then I was like, "Okay, this is gonna be a little bit harder." And then I read a couple chapters of it, and then I just like got behind, and then I lost it. I lost the book, but I picked it.
Lost. She says lost. She didn't lose the book. It was on her coffee table
in my coffee table
for multiple months. She found it when she was moving.
And yeah, I guess I found it when I was moving. But yeah, I mean, I lost it in plain sight. Some would say in my coffee table, but eventually we were like trying to pick the first book, and I was like, well, this is perfect because I've been wanting to finish it, and Jack I knew had wanted to read it, so it was very happy.
It was a perfect first book to choose.
We sound so angry.
We're still upset. I still have a lot of anxiety over the whole sound thing. Honestly, we have no idea how the sound is actually going to turn out. We did 8 tests, but it's anybody's guess, honestly.
I mean, I think it's going fine.
It's going. We'll definitely
This
see.
is I'm excited about this. So we're doing every time we read a book, we're gonna tell you about our Jane Austen moment, i.e. how I just feel like in every Jane Austen movie, it's like the main lead woman is like glamorously reading a book instead of finding a husband. She's supposed to be finding a fucking husband. Instead, she's reading a book. And so, yeah. I mean, I guess I can go first because I was already getting into it a little bit about why. So, I lost the book. That was my Jane Austen. I was reading it pretty aggressively. It came with me to Palm Springs. It came with me on a lot of work trips that I didn't pick up. I'd never read. That's the thing. Do you do this when like you're traveling, like, and I'm like very ambitious, and I'm like, I will read on the plane.
Wholeheartedly agree. And I never read on the plane.
Also heavy to go in the backpack. Takes up room.
Yeah, especially a hardcover, which is you always have to get.
Yeah.
And especially this book because it's 450 pages.
Right.
It takes up a lot of room in the backpack.
And I never read on the plane.
I always think I'm going to, and then I take an edible, eat some peanuts, and watch a movie I've seen 4 times already.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're supposed to do on planes.
Read. It's like, why?
It's like, if you read on a plane, you're gonna get motion sick.
I did try to read on. I was flying earlier this week. Shout out Oakland. Which is like a very short flight. It's like less than an hour, or I guess it's like almost exactly an hour long flight. And I was trying to read on the plane, and
What were you reading?
Well, I don't even remember what the book is called. It's the last of the 4 books that I bought in Arizona.
Oh, really?
I think it's called. I can't remember.
Okay.
It's in my backpack, but I didn't even get like a page into it because the flight attendant was doing the safety instructions as I was trying to read, and I was like, oh, well, now I'm distracted, and I was trying to put headphones into listening to music, and that like wasn't working.
That's fair. I mean, those flight instructions are.
Well, now I feel like I have to pay attention. Yeah. Now I'm like, I used to be like la 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 la. Now I'm like, okay, wait, but what do we do?
Sitting in the exit row is like service now. Like
I'm not.
It actually is.
I don't sit in the exit row.
Oh man,
I would not be good in a plane emergency.
You would lose your mind.
Yeah. I will say sometimes I'm like very common crisis, but I just I feel like I would freeze more than lose my mind in a
Yeah,
plane
yeah,
emergency.
a fight or flight situation. It's fight, flight, or freeze, and you're definitely
I love
freeze.
to freeze.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
So your Jane Austen moment was everywhere.
My Jane Austen, yeah, I brought it with me everywhere, and then I ended up finishing it in the place that we're recording, and,
Nice.
yeah, I cried at the end.
I
I cried a
yeah,
lot.
I
I
saw.
was bawling.
Yeah.
What was your
So
journey?
my Jane Austen
Not
moment.
fast enough,
What
I can
I
say
read
that.
a majority of this book at the beach, at Coronado Beach.
Okay. Rich.
I read probably 150 pages at Coronado Beach, and then I probably read about 200 pages at Scripps Coastal Reserve, where I basically just hiked down to the beach there and read it there. And I do not regret my choices because it was awesome. I finished the book in my apartment though, while my fiance was coming home from work, and I was sobbing. It's a very,
Yeah.
you know, I find it interesting because there's a motto that goes around where it's like you do the work for the first 100 pages and then the book should take over, right?
Mhm.
I don't think this happened with this book. I feel like you had to do the work for the first 300 pages
Yeah.
and then it took over. And
It
then it was awesome. But
yeah.
but to have 300 pages lead up to me crying was interesting. I did not think.
Yeah. There's a lot of, like, 'cause I was with Sally Rooney's books, her style is very much, like, there's a lot of bouncing back and forth between character POVs and, like, she doesn't famously doesn't use quotation marks, so there
Mhm.
you have to, like, put in a mental energy that a lot of authors don't require of you, which I think I do appreciate ultimately because I think it, like I like books that push form to
Yeah.
reveal function, but I think that this this out of all of her other book I feel like with each book she writes, it becomes more and more difficult because Beautiful World, whatever,
Yeah.
that one was also a bit of a I actually really loved that book a lot,
I
but
did
it was
too,
a
but it was
little
a
bit of a
struggle. It
struggle.
was definitely a struggle, whereas, like, Conversations with
It's not a
Friends and
struggle.
Normal People are fantastic books
Yeah,
that you can fly through because they're amazing. I mean, they're amazing front to back.
right,
Not to say this book isn't amazing front to back, but it needed a lot of backstory in order to elicit that emotion that I think we both had at the end.
right,
I mean, a fantastic and you knew it was coming too. The foreshadowing was there 100%, and
right.
you knew it was coming, but I mean, it still hit me like a train.
Yeah, which, I think did you like the book?
Are we gonna do initial feelings?
I mean,
Initial
yeah.
feelings, I did like the book overall.
Okay.
I would say I did like the book. Um, it's not my favorite, you know, I think it was way too slow for way too long,
Mhm.
and regardless of how it ended, and regardless of the emotional response, I think a book needs to be really good for a majority of it, as opposed to just setting the scene for the last
Yeah.
20 pages.
Yeah. I mean, I think I loved it, honestly. I think, like, I didn't mind putting the work in initially. I think, like, I favored I mean, I told you, like, when I first started reading it, I was like, "Why am I don't care about these men."
That's the
I
biggest issue
don't
for
and
me.
then it only became interesting to me once we started, like, learning more about the women,
It's like
which is
the
maybe bad, but I just, like, don't in general, I don't love reading books about men.
I and that's the thing, okay? I love Sally Rooney because she writes about sad women. Sad women are really, like, powerful, okay? Sad men are
Mhm.
just like, "What are we doing?" Like,
But she does write about sad men, I mean, like, normal people.
Normal
He's a
People
sad
had sad
boy.
men, but it had a lot of sad women. This only had one sad
Yeah.
woman, the perspective of one sad woman. There were 3 women and 2
Yeah.
men in this book, and she gave the perspective of 2 men and 1 woman.
I know.
What about the other
Yeah.
I wanna know Sylvia. I wanna know all about what happened there and where her mind's at. You can assume, but you don't get any context of it. Meanwhile, in her other books, you would get context of it.
Right, which I
There's
think
450 pages, and I don't get to
we
peek
should
inside Sylvia's mind?
yeah, we should, like, back up because Ivan, who's the younger brother,
Mhm.
he is like this virginal character who has a kind of a sexual awakening, also just like emotional awakening, and like comes into himself, a coming of age type
through
story.
grieving.
Through grief, he loses his father, and then through meeting this woman named Margaret, who is 10 years older than him, who happens to be she's
Like
more
16,
than she's like more than 10 years older than him. She's in her 30s, he's in his 20s.
Yeah.
And she's older. His brother is also in his 30s.
Yeah.
And his brother's girlfriend is in her 20s. So there's that interesting foil, right, of the like of their relationship dynamics, where his brother felt like he had to grow up too quickly because he, you know, felt like he was the parent, like their parents are divorced, blah blah blah.
That he was always taking care of
He
Ivan
felt like he was
and the dad.
exactly, and so he grew up quickly, and then it has this kind of like, you know, delayed adolescencing of dating this 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Who he also is kind of a weird caretaker of, in the sense, like, he's paying for her financially.
Not emotionally, though. No. Financially caretaker.
But I don't think that I don't think he's ever been anyone's emotional caretaker.
Yeah.
I think it was, he's good at the, like, masculine type of caretaking. Like, I will be there. If something needs to be dealt with, I will deal with it. If like money's,
because that's how he was basically raised, right? I mean, his parents were divorced, so he became that person. Especially because, I mean, as it was revealed in the book, his dad just, I mean, wasn't that type of man. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, wasn't the one that was gonna, take heed and figure it out. It was always gonna be Peter's responsibility.
And then his dad became this like sickly
terminally ill cancer man that just shriveled up, and I mean that's tough in of itself. And I mean, he was there every step of the way, but physically he was. I don't think emotionally he was as invested as maybe it appears. I mean, he was emotionally invested, but he also knew what he was doing. He was doing it for a reason. It was to protect, not because of his own being. That in that sense, I just don't think you're emotionally invested.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be, but you have to do stuff for yourself as well. But
yeah.
All right, let's move on to one of the funnest segments that we have right now. Yeah, go for it.
A camera check.
Camera check.
We're less angry.
We are so much. I feel so much better now that I'm actually talking about the book. I was so on edge. Could you tell?
Yeah, you were so on edge. And that's the thing too with like segments. That's like we can flow.
We can flow
into them like more.
See, it's first episode problems is exactly what.
Yeah, just like let it flow.
Episode 2, guys, watch out. It
doesn't have to be out. It's like structured.
It's gonna be crazy. Okay. Okay.
Remember where you left off, right?
Yeah, I can't believe we're at 24 minutes.
We're at 24 minutes. Wow, that's it. We've talked a lot.
Yeah, like 20 minutes.
I feel like initially
we probably have more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like initially it was like you were saying, it was like chop. I know. Sorry, we like to talk. It was like chop. I feel like I made it choppy, but it's now that it's more flowy.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this a lot more.
Yeah. Well, you've never podcasted before.
I've never podcasted before. I've been on podcasts.
It's just
I've never podcasted before.
Don't back up too much.
No,
Cool. Yeah.
She's like tilting this way to stay in frame.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think with the character, with Peter, he has these 2 women in his life.
Yeah.
Sylvia.
2 women in his life.
What's the other girl's name?
It's Sylvia and oh my god. We've got a book out specifically for situations like this.
Naomi.
I knew it was something actually Naomi's a nice name.
Naomi's a good name. So Naomi's the 20-something. And Sylvia is like the love of Peter's life, who was in this like tragic accident, which also they do not explain.
Which is very frustrating. I get why they don't explain, but the biggest thing it seems like in this book, what happened with the accident, she can walk, she can talk, she's a professor, she just can't have sex.
But just like penetrative sex. Like it's a very like heterosexual view of sex.
Yes.
But it's not like
yes.
it's not
Very
like she's
good point.
it's not like her clitoris got chopped off. Like
No.
she has a clit, we learn.
And she mentions it,
and
she mentions that
she's
uses
able
it.
to orgasm, but she's not paralyzed. I think that's what's confusing. It's like she's not paralyzed.
She's not paralyzed. Like
she just has chronic pain.
Happened?
I don't know.
It makes no sense.
But
like
she felt like she wasn't capable of it. It's very
she
interesting.
wasn't capable of supporting a man's desire, is what it seems like, or Peter's desire.
Which honestly relatable, but I mean that's just like a lot. I mean I get it. I get the like recluse thing.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily how I feel individually, but it's like I understand. I can see that.
The thing I did not like was the projecting from her. Like it's like
yeah, but then it's like Peter's
mean?
giving nothing emotionally. So
he was though. He was.
Well, he was trying, but it was very
emotionally.
closed off. He's very immature.
Well, it's because she kind of he had some reservations because he's the one that broke it off initially. Yeah. You know, because of this.
Well, she never gave him like the opportunity. But then it was like kind of double edged because like, she never gave him the opportunity to like step up and like show that he was like that he wanted to stay with her and work through the accident. But then she also never let him like fully move on because she was like fully present in his life. Exactly. But anyway, so these two women end up meeting each other, and there's an amazing line in the book where they say like, "Your girlfriends are unionizing."
She shouts, "Help! Your girlfriends are unionizing," which I think is it actually made me laugh out loud.
Yeah,
in the context, it's actually a very intense scene. And then it's these two women meeting for the first time, but it's under a scenario in which Peter has passed out. They're kind of helping him back to his couch.
Yeah, he like had gone missing for 24 hours or whatever.
And we'll get into the men's mental health about it later. But there were some aspects where they might have thought he was not alive, based on things he had told.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so they say this quote, and Samantha thought of a perfect segment. What if all of our past partners unionized?
I would say just like past and current.
Past and current.
For the purposes of because it is his current partner.
Yes, exactly.
Unionized.
If they unionized, what would they all say about you? Yeah. And I'm going to let you go first on this.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, so here's the thing. So I am bi, as Jack mentioned. Mm-hmm. And so I have male and female and I do think that male partners and female partners would say different things about me.
Interesting.
I think if all the male partners unionized, I mean, I think it's like horrifying to think about. I think I think that it's just like different stages of my life. I think people would say different things. I think people would say that I'm bad at communicating my emotions. I think that's like across the board.
It's fair.
True. And yeah, I was like closed off. I think would be a common theme.
Okay,
especially like past partners.
Let's break it down, female and male. Then, what would your past female partners say about you?
I'm like a great time and like fun.
Why is it past partners then? Is that on you or is that on them?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I think it's like also probably that I'm closed off. I think that I'm like closed off.
There we are.
Yeah. Well, closed off in a different way. I think my female partners would say that I like always kind of reverted to like we would have like emotional intimacy, but that it wouldn't necessarily like lend itself to like I definitely am a very avoidant person.
Got it. Okay.
And so it would like it wouldn't necessarily like evolve into like a serious relationship.
So it was more so there was more casual with the women than opposed to the men.
But the men was also I would say that I did not have a like actual relationship until I was 23.
Got it. Would your current partner agree with this? With what you're
saying?
That
I'm closed off?
Yeah.
I mean, probably, yeah.
Okay.
Or it's something I'm working on. It's something I've gotten better about.
Okay, that's fair.
But I think that would be the common theme, that I'm like not good at communicating my needs, that I like if I'm upset, I don't communicate it. I mean, like, this is a story that's, like, kind of insane. Like, I had someone break up with me for like, we had been, like, kind of seeing each other, but, like, not really for, like, over a summer,
Mhm.
and it was, like, long distance. Well, like, it was so, like,
Long distance over a
we had
summer.
started hooking up we had started hooking up my whatever, it doesn't matter, but we had started hooking up, like, before the school year was over
Okay.
in college,
Okay.
and then over the summer, we were in different places, but we're, like, talking a lot, and it kind of seemed like it was, like, evolving into a relationship,
But
but then when we got back, he was being, like, very distant and weird, but we were still, like, hooking up, and then he broke up with me by being essentially saying something to the extent of, like, "I don't see" essentially, he was like, "I'm only interested in you physically," is what he said.
what?
I
Oh
mean, that's,
my
like, not
god.
exact it's kind of a paraphrase, but that is, like that was what he said.
Okay, that's
It
interesting
was
because it was a
crazy.
long distance
But then
emotional connection for 3 months.
exactly. No, it was crazy. But then when that happened, I gave him nothing. Like, my
Yeah,
emotional
fuck
reaction
that guy.
no, but I'm like, I feel like most like, a normal person would
Oh,
have,
you
like,
m yeah.
in the moment cried or, like, been
Oh,
upset or,
you
like,
mean nothing
screamed
as
at
in,
him.
like, in
I
the
just
moment.
sat there as he was saying that to me, and I was just like, "Okay."
Oh, that's
Which is
that
crazy.
is that
That's,
is
like, so crazy. I
devious.
just was like, "Okay," and he was like, "That's it?" And I was like, "Yeah, bye." And then, like, 2 weeks later this is the other thing that I think they would all say about me, is that I do recontact. So, like,
Oh,
I'm
so
a
you keep
send
in
a letter
touch. Do you
no,
keep
no,
in
no, no, no,
touch?
no, 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 no.
You contact, you go back.
No, I'm like a send a letter person.
Oh, what? Oh, I'm
Like,
sorry.
send a
You're
letter
sending like, a breakup letter as if this
no,
is
but like, okay, 'cause I don't process emotions well.
yeah,
So it's
that's
like
true. That's a factual statement.
if people
Okay.
break up with also, like, the people I feel really horribly about this, but the people that I've broken up with, I get so first of all, I'm someone who has to break up with people multiple times. Like, it takes most of my breakups took 3 times to take.
What the I am learning so much right now.
So I think
Like, I feel like I'm learning tea about you 4 years ago. Like, this is
yeah, I
crazy.
know, this is
Okay.
who I was at, like, 18 to 22. It took, like, multiple times
Oh.
to break up with someone.
Why?
Multiple
Because you would just bail?
No, because they, like, couldn't understand it, or they would want, like, follow-up conversations, and that was the thing is I felt and this is the emotionally closed off thing, I never felt like I owed someone an explanation for breaking up with them.
Is that closed off or is that super selfish?
I think it's just closed off. I just
You
thought it was
never owed
closed off.
someone? I mean,
I just felt like I didn't owe some I was just like, I don't wanna see you anymore. I'm not interested.
that's fair. There doesn't have to be a reason. That's true. But,
I
like,
mean, there usually was a reason, but it was like, "Ugh, do we really have to get into it? I made up my mind." Like, I don't really care.
see,
Like,
that's the
which
thing
is bad, but
that
it's like
that's the thing that fucks you up, though,
but
is, like, when
that's
there's
why
not a
I
reason.
had to have, like, 4 breakup conversations with people because it was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god,
You'd
you
think
just
you would learn
don't
after the
get it."
first one, but you just
No.
kept doing it.
But I never had this problem with women.
Yeah, well, yeah, actually, interesting.
Because I think the
That's
problem
actually really interesting.
yeah. But then so, yeah, he broke up with me in that way, and I just gave him absolutely nothing. I was just like, "Okay, bye."
Huh.
And then 2 weeks later, I, like, texted him, and I'm like, "Okay, now I wanna talk." And he thought that I was gonna yell at him. He was, like, scared. We did meet up, and he thought I was gonna, like, scream at him. 'Cause he was, like, so
'Cause
nervous.
he said a
We, like,
really shitty
we show
thing.
up to, like, it was a public setting.
Mhm.
We show up, and he was, like, scared, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Well, I was just like, are you gonna yell at me?" And I was like, "No, it's not." Literally, he was just like, "I know" I went to a very small school, and I was like, "I know we're gonna have to keep interacting, so I, like, don't"
Oh, that's fair. I
Yeah,
didn't
so I was
think
like,
about that.
"I'm pissed at you, and I want to be able to, like, communicate my feelings so that I don't care anymore."
Yeah, okay.
But I was, like, very, like I think the other thing that they would s I think another thing that including the women would probably say about me is that I intellectualize. So when I do explain my feelings, it's, like, very over intellectualized,
Yeah, that's also true.
and I don't. I like a lot of times, and this is like something probably my current partner would say about me, is that like I sometimes handle conversations about my feelings in a relationship like it's a business meeting. So I'll use words like
God, I want to talk to Frankie so bad now.
yeah.
That's gotta be difficult. That's really gotta be difficult.
Like I'll
But
just
that also checks out.
like it's very much like it's giving thank you for the feedback.
Yeah. No.
Or I'll be like, "Oh, I hear you. I understand."
You're who's HR in the situation? That's the problem.
I don't know. It's just like I'm very closed off.
Okay.
I'm very closed off emotionally.
She's letting it out now, though, which
But
I
no, it's
will
true.
say.
I mean, that's the thing is I just am very closed off, and I think that is what a lot of previous. I think that is what if they unionized, they would all say.
So I guess we go on to my past partners now.
Yeah.
Number wise, I've only had 3 past partners, 2 past partners, 1 current partner that I will be with for the rest of my life.
Unless she leaves you.
Unless she leaves me. There's no way I'm leaving her. She's the best. But
Yeah.
it would, to everybody that knows us, it would be more realistic for her to leave me than me to leave her.
100%.
Yeah. And here's why. Okay. So not that I'm gonna fuck anything up, but if I had to say my current and past girlfriends were to unionize, I would say that they think I'm very sweet, like a very sweet, caring individual who pays attention to detail, is actually there emotionally, but is just batshit insane.
There you go.
Completely batshit insane. I started dating my fiance when I was 17, and so the other 2 relationships were when I was in high
And
school.
she was 45.
And she's 9 months older than me. She's gonna love the fact that you said that. So the cool thing about only having a few partners is you can actually break down where it went wrong. And I fucked it up both times. I'm an insane person. I was still am an insane person. The first time, my first relationship, I messed it up. So I went to Catholic school. I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic school. Always found it really hard to believe in religion. And so I tried to overcompensate for that, and I was more so like a priest to my girlfriend than I was
Hot.
a boyfriend. Yeah, hot, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember consistently she was having mental health problems, in which I would just be like, "I'll pray for you," you know, and that doesn't.
It's
Heads up,
horrible.
that's
Was
not
she
the thing to
Catholic at
say.
least?
No, she was not religious.
Oh my god. Wait, did
That's
you break up with her? Did she break up with you?
Oh no, she broke up with me.
Oh, thank God.
She made the right
Thank
choice.
God.
I needed that. I needed to have my heart broken.
How'd she break up with you?
And she was really very sweet individual. Took me out to dinner, paid.
No.
Boo. But she didn't. We were like 15. Okay.
Yeah.
This is how insane I am. I tipped in all change.
No. Coins?
Coins.
No.
All coins.
No.
A lot of pennies too. I was just like, I just gotta get rid. And she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like,
Wait,
is
she
just
broke up with you not during dinner?
no, after.
She did a whole dinner?
And then
Ugh.
took me on a walk and then broke up with me.
Okay,
She's
the walk
very
breakup
nice.
is a move.
It's a move.
That's my move, but I don't do dinner.
Here's the thing, I was blindsided as hell. I definitely was.
Well, yeah,
super
I actually think
blindsided.
it's kind of fucked up to take someone to dinner and then break up because then it's like, then you are blindsided.
Yeah, maybe, but she was in the right. Like she totally was in the right.
Okay.
I remember there was one time where I said, I was praying to God, and God sent me a sign that we were gonna be okay in our relationship.
That's
despite
so
her
crazy.
mental health problems, which is insane, and
Yeah.
obviously the very incorrect thing to do. I clearly was also struggling with some mental health problems that I was unaware of, and
Of course.
manifested in the situation that happened, which was basically that entire relationship. I think I was probably a very nice partner, and she would probably say I was very sweet and attentive, but Yeah, definitely fucked up in the head. Second partner, probably worse, probably not. We hooked up for a while. We never made it official, but we were exclusive. We would text every day, sneak out for months and months and months and months and months on end.
It's so funny that sneaking out was a part of your high school experience.
Yes, I wasn't a good kid. Like I was a good kid, but I was like I was messed up.
There was nothing to sneak out from.
For you?
No, I didn't have a curfew. I didn't have any rules really.
When you were 16,
Yeah,
you could just leave the house at 11 p.m.
Yeah, and did.
What? What? Are you serious?
Yeah, my parents went to bed.
What? That is like okay. You guys gotta let us know if that's a common thing because that seems
it's not
foreign
common.
as
My
hell to
parents are
me.
just like, I think they just knew I wasn't doing anything bad.
Oh, my parents were. I mean, my parents probably thought they were like this kid.
My friends and I were like going to the theater, and then we would like drink margarita mix.
Oh my god.
With like a little bit of tequila, and that was kind of it.
I think my parents should have been more afraid of me alone than with other people.
Fair.
But nevertheless, so I would sneak out and see her. It was great, for it felt like a really long time. And then I was like, we should like announce it, we should like make it official and like really see each other. And she said she'd think about it, which really hurt my feelings a lot. Classic. At 16 years old.
I've done that. I'll think about it before.
And it hurts. It really does. Because then you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like I've done so much. And because I was hurt, I tried to sleep with her best friend. That did not go over very well. I was unsuccessful. Badly.
That's the worst part.
Badly unsuccessful.
It's like you try to hook up with her best friend, and then the best friend says no.
It was
It was good for her.
Very good for her. Very good for her. She's a very nice person as well. I was very messed up and very, 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 very messed up in the head. And so I did that, failed miserably, and then the best friend told her, of course, as the best friend should, and yeah, she broke up with me pretty soon after that, and I went to a Foo Fighters concert by myself. And it was I was in therapy pretty shortly after that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I've learned from my mistakes. I was 16. Okay, I learned from those mistakes. I've been in this relationship for 8.5 years.
Yeah,
nowhere near done anything like that, nor ever would.
I mean, good.
Yeah, because she's the best. She's honestly the best.
You had to make the mistakes.
I had to make the mistakes
to get to the right person.
Okay, yeah.
Is that how that works?
Mm-hmm. You do.
I feel like that's true. I hope that my current partner thinks better of me than my previous partner.
I mean, I clearly made a lot of mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes. I feel like if you learn from them, that's the important thing, right?
Of course.
Like,
yeah.
Obviously, I was not a good guy when I was 15 and 16, but I'm great at 25 now, I think. I hope.
Well, it's like we're all, I mean, literally, you're like, your frontal lobe isn't developed or whatever.
Yeah.
But exactly. And I think that is true. Like, I mean, you were talking about mental health in a lot of your stories. I think for me too, like, I have relationship OCD, which definitely, when I'm talking about like being closed off, like that is where it comes from. And I think one of the things that I really like about Sally Rooney's book, this book and her books in general, is like she does a really good job of exploring mental health, especially men's mental health, in a way that is a lot more. It comes off as like authentic instead of like dramatized. Like it's not like 13 reasons why.
No, it's not. It's nothing that's like, supposed to. It's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not.
It's not
dramatized in any sense.
Or like, it's not like giving Twilight or whatever.
No, it's all very authentic and very. It seems very personal,
especially like related to grief. Because like. You can
see, you can literally see the spiraling.
Happens quite a bit.
So the biggest, I mean, everybody is obviously going through some mental health issues all the time, includes you. And so it kind of shows that in this book, specifically more with the character Peter, where there's a lot of suicidal ideation in this book. So for those of you out there that do know me, I am a psych nurse, obviously, and
you're like, I'm a psych nurse, obviously. Duh. Okay, look at my hair.
I meant that in a sense. I meant that in the sense of the followers. Yeah. Okay. Obviously, I just got off a 12-hour shift back to backs. Someone did try to kill me today, but here I am, unsuccessful.
They didn't get you this time.
We'll see if there's an episode 2. Hopefully. You never know though on that unit. But men's mental health is prominent in this book. It's put on the back burner in real life as well. And I mean, so I work in the unit, and a lot of the men that come in are put on holds from the police. However, a lot of women that come in, they are also put on holds, but a lot of them come in voluntary, and men don't really do that as much. And for one reason or other, I think it's because women are a lot smarter than men, and they understand themselves a lot better. But I also think it's because as a society, men don't talk about stuff like this
Yeah.
as
I
much.
think it's more, I think it's just like a lot of it's about socialization, where it's like if
Mhm.
you're like women are encouraged to talk about mental health
Mhm.
a lot more, even just like talking about their emotions.
Yeah.
You have more opportunities to do that, and so it's, I think I think also like on the because with your patients,
Yeah.
there are people who are on the much more severe mental health
Absolutely.
impact,
I mean, for
which
sure.
right, which I think it's like
Absolutely.
if
It's
you
a tough
look
sample
at
size.
portrayals of like your typical psych patient, they often are women.
Yeah.
And I think
Mhm.
it is more normalized for women to have what we would call like a mental breakdown.
Well, historically, right? Because
Yeah.
that they would, if you were a stay-at-home mom and or stay-at-home wife and you had a breakdown, they would just send you to the quote unquote loony bin
Yeah.
is what they would call it. And so
Lobotomy.
lobotomies, they don't
But yeah,
happen
and so I
anymore.
think that is a thing, like, I mean, not to get too into gender theory, but I do think that is like, there are a lot of layers to, like, why men's mental health is, like, in this, and I think a lot of people right now are, like, scratching their heads about, like, how do we address the male loneliness crisis and, like, young men's mental health
I
and,
mean,
like,
it's hard to change
especially
society's view, right? And
right,
it's one person at a time. So if you're a man struggling with any type of, or if you're a man or a woman, but in this context, if you're a man
or
struggling
non-binary,
with mental or non-binary struggling with mental health
all
issues,
the genders.
all the genders struggling with mental health issues, speak up. Even if you're a guy, because it is important, and I'm sure your guy friend is also going through some shit. So speak up because it is actually important to change the way we view it as a society. So, and I think the book does a very good job at that, despite the fact that it's written by a woman.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the thing is it's like it's hard. I think that is like kind of one of the questions like of our time is like
Mhm.
how do we, you know, I think there are as society is becoming more and more accepting of like some version of women's equality, although I don't know
Yeah,
I think that
yeah,
men
yeah.
are feeling like left behind. It's like how do you bridge that? Like women are graduating college at a much higher rate. They're entering college at a much
Exactly.
higher rate. They're getting graduate degrees at a much higher rate.
Why do we think that is?
Well, but I think a lot of it is because, like there are opportunities presented for women and the education system's designed in a way that actually like does benefit women more
Possibly.
in some sense. I mean, it's whatever. Gender theory is a whole thing. But
It's there.
and like not to be gender essentialist about it because I don't think it is. But this is all to say like I think as statistically you're seeing like women achieve more on paper, and then all of these men are, like, voting Republican now, and, like,
Yeah.
the rise of Joe Rogan, it's like, this is kind of the question for,
Mhm.
like, our time of, like, how do you like, where should we be driving the conversation around mental health? Because I think
It gets buried, and there's a reason why people are voting, for Republican, and that Joe Rogan. I mean, they don't talk about men's mental health. It's a back burner issue. It's looked at as soft. It's looked at as weak. It's looked at as not manly. If you're struggling with something mentally, and so when anybody has a problem with that, they immediately do the exact same thing that I did regarding religion, which is go the exact opposite way and overcompensate for it. I can guarantee a majority of these men that vote Republican or that listen to Joe Rogan have mental health issues that they don't want to address because they look at it as soft.
Although I think that it's like, I think they do talk about mental health.
Not in
But
the
I think that
not in
it's
a
like, but the way that
not in
they
a
talk about
positive
how to
way.
cope, I think that they do address loneliness, and they do provide an outlet for loneliness, and they provide an outlet for like social, like a way to socialize. But I think it's like
Yeah.
it's in a direction where people are becoming increasingly isolated. So
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you're experiencing loneliness. We're also experiencing loneliness. So
absolutely.
you should like focus on your like business, or you should
Mhm.
focus on like exercise. I feel like that's like the self-help like stuff of
Yeah.
like be your best man. I don't really listen to any of this
Mhm.
content, but that is like my understanding
Me
of
neither.
it. Is it's like it's not that it's not addressing mental health. It's that like addresses loneliness and mental health, but then the solution is not.
The solution to their mental health is to become more manly. Is kind of what it is. Become more masculine. Become this alpha dog that doesn't have problems with mental health.
Yeah.
You know, like the reason you're having problems with mental health is because you're such a beta or whatever. If you were an alpha, you wouldn't have problems like this. So vote for the alpha or take
Right.
these supplements or so on and so forth. And that's not really a positive way to look at men's mental health, regardless, or anybody's mental health. And so that in turn is kind of the issue. But yeah,
Yeah.
there
But
we
even like within this book, it's like the people who solve it are like by solve it, I mean like the people who are able to like help Peter and Ivan. Ivan also has
work
his own
through
mental
the
health.
issues.
Are
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
Are
They are.
all women, which I think is interesting. Like because even with like Sally Rooney's other books, like it's a woman therapist or it's a
Mhm.
woman. So it's like I do think that there is that kind of like fallback on
Uh-huh.
like gender norms of like woman equals caretaker equals good at mental health, man
Yeah,
is
actually
mentally
fair.
ill. And I think that
That's fair.
it's like interesting because I think that like one, I assume that Sally Rooney has her own mental health issues. That's like the way she writes about it. I just like assume she has to. And it's like I wonder like who are the men in her life? Which I
Mhm.
not to make it about the author, but I think that
But I think that's important.
right.
You make a good point about the like about the men in her life. I mean, honestly, I surround myself with mostly like most of my friends are women. If I'm being completely honest, I think a majority of my friends are women, and they are definitely people that allow me to work through a lot of mental health issues in one way or another. Surrounding myself with people that will listen to me and deal with it are is important, and I don't think I would be able to work through it with. I mean, and my therapist for a while when she was alive, but that's a different story. Was a woman, right? And so do you realize how fucked it is when your therapist dies? Because who are you supposed to talk to? Another therapist? Like that's okay.
Yeah, that is
That's for another
crazy.
time. Um, anyways, it's women that help men. It really is. We would be lost
Yeah.
without them for sure. All right, I think we are going to circle this up. We are going to introduce how we are going to rate books from here on out,
Yeah.
and it is going to be the Sad Girl scale.
Mhm.
Yes. So basically, we are just going to rate it on the Sad Girl scale, and you guys can determine where it lands on the scale. So what is your rating of this book
Yeah.
on the Sad Girl scale?
So for me, Intermezzo by Sally Rooney on the Sad Girls Guide. I wrote it down and I don't want to misconstrue my words, so I'm going to read it. Is on the Sad Girls Scale. It is Frida Kahlo. Oh, I just unplugged.
So we're going to end this by giving it our rating. And
Mhm.
we have a rating that is on a scale that we've invented called the Sad Girl scale.
Yes.
Okay. We are going to give it a rating on the Sad Girl scale, and you can determine where exactly that rating
Exactly.
is.
And
Mhm.
we'll, over time develop it
Yeah.
further.
Over time, there'll be a rating scale. But for
So
right now, let's start.
my Sad Girl Scale rating of Intermezzo by Sally Rooney is Frida Kahlo walking on the bridge. And there are layers to this. So famously, Frida Kahlo had an accident. And she was with her boyfriend when it happened. She was with her boyfriend when she had a bus accident that left her with like severe chronic pain for the rest of her life. And she was like bedridden. That's why she became an artist initially. Exactly. She became bedridden and then became an artist because she was bedridden and like had nothing to do. And so she started drawing. And anyway, and then she famously was also, she was in essentially an open marriage, although like adulterous, but also open.
Yeah, it was
early poly.
It was very
with Diego
fuzzy.
Rivera, and they lived in separate houses and had a bridge between the houses where you could like walk. And anyway, that is where I write this book, is just for the image of Frida Kahlo walking on the bridge to say hello to her husband, who she's also cheating on, but he's cheating on her, but it's kind of an open relationship, but we didn't have that.
Welcome to the sad girl scale.
That's
That
where
is
I
the
land.
sad girl scale.
Let's go.
Mine is 6 Marie Antoinettes. Okay. Sprinkled with the dust of Anne Hathaway's performance for the first hour of Les Mis.
Wow. You thought this book was a lot sadder than I did.
Yeah, men's mental health, man.
I mean, yeah, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. It's a term. Frida, that's a sad one as well. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Not as sad for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know,
I was going for more like the tortured artist. It's giving very tortured artist.
It does.
Tortured intellectual with Ivan, the chess player.
I just thought it was very it was very sad. You know,
I mean, I did cry, but Frida Kahlo, you cry.
Yeah, that's true. But I cried, and I also I struck you had to put in the work, but it was also brutal to read at times because of some of the thoughts that were going through. So yeah, 6 Marie Antoinettes, sprinkled with the dust of Anne Hathaway's performance for the first hour of Les Mis, which makes complete sense if you think about it. So,
of course, undoubtedly.
That's the sad girl.
That's the sad girl scale.
Anyways, tune in for our next reveal of our book, which is going to be posted across our social medias.
Yeah. What book will we read?
Over the next
You'll have to wait and see.
Over the next week.
There is a hint. I will say this. There's a hint.
There's a hint that you can visually see. If you are watching on a video platform, you can see the hint. If you are not, you do not get to see the hint. Just tune into our social medias over the next week to find out what we're reading next.
Perfect.
And then tune into our next podcast. We'll see you in a month. Thanks for joining.
Bye. Yay.